Jai Jinendra. A very warm welcome to everyone for this extra special class we've got today. So one additional class for those who were looking for an extra special treat for half term. So hopefully we've got some children joining us today as well who are enjoying half term this week. I'd like to also welcome all of those people who may be doing something over Ambel. Today is the first day of Ambel. I hope you're all in good sata and are looking forward to the next few days of Ambel. So today I'd like to just talk about a couple of things before we start our extra lesson. I'm just going to share my screen with you.
It keeps going.
Okay, so hopefully you can see my screen now, and you'll be able to see that we've got our Facebook page here, and on that Facebook page there's details of a arts competition which has been organized by the Jain and Hindu Organ Donation Committee, and this year they're organizing this to raise awareness about organ donation, but also to get everyone involved in the celebrations for Diwali. And with that, you can see we've got 3 different age categories: 5 to 11, 12 to 18, and 18 and over. And you can see those details for that competition on our Facebook page. There's first prize is for each of those age categories is £100, and second prize is £50, and then £25. So really well worth doing that. And the deadline for entries is the 30th of October. So please do go onto our Facebook page, and we'll try and put that also on the chat so you can follow that up as well. The other big thing that I want to talk about is this. Hopefully you can see my screen. So many of you will remember Varsha Ben had the Divo. So I've got the Divo now, just like the Olympic torch is passing on to me. The light shines on, and on the 14th of November, which is Diwali Day, we've got 3 wonderful events, starting from 9:30 in the morning, where we've got Chopra Pujan, which will be conducted by our very own Vinod Bhai, Kapashi and Sudhaben, and that will be followed by a very special presentation and talk by Acharya Hemchandra, or as we know her, Taima, and Sadhviji Shilapiji. Then there's further event in the evening at 7:30, which will involve lots of singing, dancing, and lots of creative activities there. And then in the evening, we've got extra special thing planned. At 11 o'clock, we're going to have a jap. Now, for those of you who may not be aware, a jap is when we recite a prayer in a very short prayer, which is repeated over and over again. And this is known to give us a lot of spiritual benefit, both to our mind, body, and our inner spirit. It's a really powerful way of reciting a prayer, especially when it's done with all of us doing it together. And as most of you will know, Diwali, we're celebrating the moksha of Bhagwan Mahavir. And then as we go into the new year, we'll be celebrating the Kevalgnan of Gautama Swami. So it'll be a beautiful way of doing the Diwali and New Year. And this year you can also participate as a family. If you would like to be involved in reciting the jap, each family will be reciting it 27 times. So a wonderful opportunity if you'd like to be involved in this activity. Please get in touch with ourselves. Parthiben is going to be coordinating along with Jitendra Bhai, but please either contact them or any one of our committee members, and we'll be able to give you more information about the jap. So now we've got the wonderful Rhea, and I'm just going to stop sharing my screen for a second now. So with all of our sessions, we start with a prayer, and we've got our 8-year-old student from Praveshika class, Rhea Dodia, who's going to be reciting the Noka mantra. Over to you, Rhea.
Om Namo Arihantaram. Om Namo Siddharam. Om Namo Ayaryaram. Om Namo Uvajayaram. Namo Loe Savasahuram. Eso Panchana Mokharo. Sava Pava Panasano. Mangalaram Chasa Vesim. Paramam Have Mangalam.
Wonderful. Thank you very much. And lovely big smile there as well. Okay. So thank you, Rhea, for that. So now we're going to move on to our main part of this evening. I just wanted to mention today, we're planning to finish the full sutra, and Rajeev Bhai, at the end of the sutra, will be reciting all the verses, all 33 verses. So we are planning to finish at the slightly later time of about 9:30. So don't worry about that. Just stay with us and enjoy this whole final session. So please, I'm not going to introduce Rajeev Bhai. I know everyone knows him very well. And I just want us to now start where we left off last week. Thank you, Rajeev Bhai.
Thank you very much, Pramit. So Jai Jirinda, everyone. So today is going to be our last and final session on the series of 3 talks we had on Saklarhat Sutra. Let's just start off. We've actually covered 20 verses of Saklarhat Sutra, and we've got 13 more to cover today. Now, as we have seen, Acharya Hemchandra has composed this beautiful sutra in Sanskrit, adoring our 24 Tirthankars. The verses are in a poetic style. Now, just as a woman uses jewelry to enhance her beauty, which is called alankar in Hindi, poets also use alankars to beautify their poems. And alankars are generally of 2 types. One is upma alankar, which is in English we would call simile, and that's a direct comparison. And the words we would use is like alike or as. So for example, as tall as a giraffe, cries like a baby, as light as a feather, like chalk and cheese, so totally opposite people. And the other form of alankar is rupak alankar, so which is a metaphor, which is an indirect comparison. So stating that something is something else. So he is a giraffe. So not in the literal sense, but you are taking the main quality of a giraffe and saying that this person is very tall. All religions are branches of the same tree. So not in the literal sense, but essentially we understand what it's saying, that it's indirect comparison. Now, when we sort of used alankars, it's also very similar that even when you have babies, and the names which are given to babies is in a similar manner. So sometimes we have people called Pushpa. So we are saying that the person has the quality of a flower. Or we have got people called Suryakant or Chandani, so the moon. Sagar. So essentially the main gist is we are saying that let's take the quality of whatever object we are talking about, and we are trying to imply let the baby be endowed with such kind of qualities. So in this Saklarhat Sutra, Acharya Hemchandra has in almost all the verses used alankars, comparing the qualities of our Tirthankars and giving analogies to nature and other objects. So now let's start with the 21st verse. Sura Sura Naradhisa Mayura Navavaridam Karma Drunna Mullane Hasti Malam Mali Bhavishtumaha. So this verse is dedicated to Malinath Bhagwan, the 19th Tirthankar. Now if you look at the first word, Sura Sura Naradhisa, which means angels, the asuras, the demons, the helling beings, and Nar, which means humans. And Adish means, as we see, Adish means they're leaders. So essentially what this is trying to say, that even within the Jain universe, there are 3 regions, the netherworld, the middle world, and the upper world. And each one of them has got their leaders. But oh Lord Malinath Bhagwan, you are the leader of all the 3 worlds. So you're the master of these 3 regions. So that's the first analogy which is given to Malinath Bhagwan. The second analogy is Mayura Navavaridam. So Mayur essentially means a peacock. And Nav means new and Varida means cloud. So we've all seen a peacock, when it's actually going to be, realizes that there's going to be rains coming in, the peacock is in ecstasy. It's so happy that rains are going to come. And then it sort of branches out its feathers and does its beautiful peacock dance. As you can see here, it says peacocks learn to a dance before the rain comes, essentially foretelling when a place might have had a sudden shower. So it's that kind of joy and just dancing with joy at the coming of new rains. And the analogy here is, oh Malinath Bhagwan, just by mere yo tamaru word, naam sambline, just by thinking about you, I'm in ecstasy. And the analogy we can give is, for example, like Meera. कि आपने कहता था कि मीरा कितनी कृष्णा में भक्त થઈ ગઈ थी कि she just used to be totally immersed in Meera's bhakti. And another example is Anand Ganji, who was a 17th century Jain monk, and he was known as a mystical poet and hymnist. He has done many stavans adoring our 24 Tirthankars, and he was totally mesmerized. પોતપોતાની ધૂનમાં હતા. And because he was deeply in love with our Tirthankars. So that's the second analogy. And the third analogy is karma druna mullane. So what are there are three words here. Karma, drun means tree, and mul means roots. And the analogy is saying કે આપણા કર્મ એવા deep entrenched કર્મસ છે, and એ આપણે કાઢવા માટે what do we do? So can you imagine that, like if I was just researching, one of the oldest trees we have is about 80,000 years old. Can you imagine that it has weathered so many hurricanes, storms, and survived for 80,000 years? And this forest is in USA, Utah. હવે આ જે ટ્રીને uproot કરવું હોય, then an elephant can easily uproot this tree. So it could have survived for 80,000 years, but an elephant can uproot these trees. એકલા પણ એના roots it must be so deep into the ground, but yet an elephant is mighty and can remove this. So the analogy given here is કે, oh Malinath Bhagwan, we have been through so many lives and we've accrued so many karmas. Now, આ કર્મને કાઢવા માટે શું જોશે? કોઈ ordinary elephant નું કામ નથી. We need a special kind of elephant, and this elephant is called Airavat. And this is the elephant who carries the Indra Maharaj. It's a special elephant, je Devlokma je chi. And the Airavat has got special qualities. It's got 10 tusks and got 5 trunks and is spotlessly white. Such a mighty elephant. So Malinath Bhagwan કહે છે, you are like this elephant, the elephant of the Devlokna, Indra Maharajna, and you are then capable of removing our karmas which we have accrued over time immemorial. So what beautiful analogy Malinath Bhagwan ne આપે છે. And the last word says, Mali mabhishtu maha. હું ભગવાન તમારી સ્તુતિ કરું છું, પણ કેવી રીતના સ્તુતિ કરું તમારી? અભિષ્ટુ, અભિ means intense સ્તુતિ કરું છું હું. Now let's do a bhav yatra. So one of our prominent pits for Malinath Bhagwan is Boini and in Gujarat. And the history says a farmer found the magical idol of this present Mul Nayak while digging a well in his farm. In the beginning, he along with others heard sounds at the time of digging the work. Ghant, wagani vida, ghant. And the sound vanished after recovery of this idol. Now the feministic idol is unique. So this is actually, if you look at most other idols, it's got a very masculine form. And as you know that according to the Swetambar tradition, Malinath Bhagwan is supposed to be a female. In fact, there is actually a very nice story which is coming, Malinath Bhagwan story. There is a comic which comes up here, which gives a beautiful story of Bhagwan, Malinath Bhagwan, in a past life Maswata, and how Malinath Bhagwan became a female and when she became a Tirthankar. So out of the 24 Tirthankars, Svetambars believe that she is the only one who was a female Tirthankar. The next verse is Jaganamaha Moha Nidra Pratyusya Samayopamam Muni Suratanathasya Deshna Vachanam Stumaha. Now, this verse is dedicated to Muni Surat Swami, the 20th Tirthankar. Now, let's look at the first word. Jaganamaha Moha Nidra. Jag means the world. Maha means great. And Moha means Mohinya Karma. Now, if you look at the Jain philosophy, there are 8 karmas. And out of those 8 karmas, Mohinya Karma is the king of all the karmas. Because it's one of the most difficult to get rid of. It's also called delusional karma. mithyatva. Oh, it's like sleep. So this word here is nidra. Nidra means sleep. So the karma is such that it does not let you distinguish the right from wrong. And it's almost like darkness, ignorance. So what about this? The next word says pratyusha samayopamam. So what does pratyush mean? Pratyush means morning, daybreak, dawn. Samaya means time, and samayopamam, so means saman. So Om Muniswarat Swami Bhagwan, you are like the morning daybreak. કે જે આખું ignorance છે, જે મોહિન્ય કર્મ છે, you are able to help us to get rid of this mohinya karma. So as soon as darkness is associated with ignorance, and then when sunlight comes, we can then get enlightenment. So we can get knowledge. Also, it's interesting to note here that each of the Tirthankars have got their own unique colors. And Munitswarat Swami Bhagwan's color is black. So Acharya Hemchandra has very cleverly sort of compared to say Nidra. So like you're comparing the Moha Nidra. So they a black darkness, night, and linking them to Mohinya Karma. And પછી શું કહે છે? મુનિસુરત નાથસ્ય, O Munitswarat Swami Bhagwan. And the next analogy is Deshna Vachanam Stumaha. Hey Bhagwan, tamari je Deshna apo છો. So when Bhagwan gets Keval Gnan, then they actually preach. ને એ લોકો જ્યારે preach કરે ત્યારે એ આપણને that enlightens us. And it's also interesting to see that અહીંયા શું લખ્યું છે સ્તુમહ. સ્તુતિ કરું છું, means હું સ્તુતિ કરું છું, means me. In many of the other verses there was va. Va means you. But in this case here it's saying, hey ભગવાન હું તમારી સ્તુતિ કરું છું, and it's your તમારી દેશના તમે જે સ્પીચ આપો છો, તમારા જે દેશના જે આપો છો, that's going to enlighten me, and that's going to make me overcome my mohinya karmas. Now, in terms of Bhav Yatra, a very beautiful temple in Rajgrihi, Munitswarat Swami Bhagwan nu je છે. And if you look at this temple, there is actually a description of this temple here. And what this description says is this. This temple is dedicated to Lord Munitswarat Swami of the 20th Tirthankar of the Jains and contemporary of Lord Rama. Ramne Sita tha, tya vakatna Munitswarat Swami Bhagwan hata. And in this place of Rajgrihi took place 4 auspicious events of Bhagwan Munitswarat's life. આપણે કે 5 કલ્યાણક છે, એમાંથી 4 કલ્યાણક્સ occurred in Rajgrihi. His conception, Chavan, birth, Janma, renunciation, Diksha, and enlightenment, Keval Gnan. Obviously, je moksha emne મળ્યું હતું, it was in a nearby place at Samet Shikhar, Parswanath Hill. The speciality of this temple is that no iron is used. Copper is actually used instead. And that's where you can see where it gets its red color. Derasano je color to, it's quite red. And this temple was actually constructed in 1961. So relatively recent tirth, which, so almost, 60 years old. Now, where is Rajgrihi? Rajgrihi is actually very, very close to Virayatan. And in fact, it's almost about it's a walking distance from Virayatan, which is center che, it's about 3.3 kilometers. So almost walking distance from Virayatan is where this Rajgrihi temple is. And incidentally, there was a wonderful trip SCVP organized in 2011, whereby a group of us from London actually went to Rajgrihi and all the surrounding Tirth Jagya. Another beautiful temple is in Nairobi, the Nairobi Oshwal temple in Nairobi, and the main Mul Nayak is Munitswarat Swami Bhagwan. Boh bhavya murti che. In fact, there is actually a Facebook page. They are actually well known for all the various angi je Bhagwan ni kare che. Every day there is a kind of a very colorful and different angis, and there's a Facebook page which actually posts all the different angis there. So another temple in Nairobi, Munitswarat Swami Bhagwan. The next verse is Lutanto Namattam Murdani Nirmali Karakaranam Varipla Ivaname Pantu Padana Khanchvaha. Now this verse is dedicated to Lord Naminath. He is the 21st Tirthankar. One should not confuse Lord Naminath with Lord Neminath, who is the 22nd Tirthankar, which we will discuss in the next verse. Now, if you look at the first few words of this verse, what is being conveyed here? Lutanta, rolling, wallowing, moving to and fro. Nam means to bow down, and Murdan means heads of people. So what is this trying to convey? Now, let's see. We all may have experienced people with a very striking personality. In fact, we would say that the person has got a glowing personality. In this verse, Acharya Hemchandra is describing, forget about a person's appearance and personality. Merely the nail of Naminath Bhagwan, ખાલી ના પગના નખ છે, એનું એવું ગ્લો થાય છે ભગવાનના નખનું કે the rays from his toenails are glittering on the forehead of the people who are bowing down to Lord Naminath Bhagwan. ને as you can imagine કે જ્યારે કેના હોય છે કે glitter થતું હોય, when sun rays are actually falling on water, can't you see those kind of sparkles and glitters on the water? Similarly, કે ભગવાનનું જે છે, it's actually glittering on the forehead. And what is this doing? Nirmali. And that's going to, mal means dirt, and nirmal means to purify. So these rays are such so powerful that they're actually purifying the person who is bowing down to Naminath Bhagwan. The next analogy is Varipla eva name. So what is this trying to convey? So this is saying, imagine that a river starts high up in the highlands, crosses through the vast terrains, sometimes forming rapids and waterfalls. And then eventually what happens is that the river falls down or merges into the ocean. So there's a waterfall, and water actually nameche, the water from all these high mountains is falling down and merging into the ocean. So the analogy is saying, oh Lord Naminath Bhagwan, let me bow down to you, and may you also bless me. And the word is pantu, so you also protect me. So by bowing down to you, please protect me. Now, Naminath Bhagwani Derasar, there is a very Derasar in Thika, which is about 30 miles from Nairobi in Kenya. And this is the new temple which was recently built. But the old temple, and as I remember as a child, was this temple here in Thika. It was actually built in the 1950s. And the motto of the people who actually built was this: to get together is a beginning, to live together is progress, and to work together is success. And there are some 1950 bandailu, and the murti which is on the right hand side is Naminath Bhagwani murti che. And then very, very nice, and there is actually a nice mango tree over here, so very blissful surroundings when you go to do darshan here. So the next verse, Yaduvansa samundrenduha karma kakshutashana arishta nemir bhagwan vuyadvo rishtanashana. This verse is dedicated to Lord Naminath Bhagwan, who is our 22nd Tirthankar. Now, what does the first word mean? Yaduvansh. So what this means, that Naminath Bhagwan belonged to the Yadav dynasty, the lineage. And this lineage was the same lineage as Krishna Bhagwan. It is known that Naminath Bhagwan and Krishna Bhagwan were cousins. Now, as you know, with a lineage, an ancestral lineage, people come and go. However, there could be some striking personalities within this clan. For example, if you look at the Gandhi, Mahatma Gandhi has become a renowned personality. He's actually made the Gandhi surname so famous. Similarly, Yadu Vansh dynasty che, ema O Naminath Bhagwan, you are the shining, you were the greatest personality amongst all this lineage here. Ne eno comparison kevi na kairu che. Samundrenduha. Samudra means ocean, and Indu. So how is that been linked together? So what this is trying to convey, if you look at an ocean, the waves come up and down. So those are like people come and go, but the ocean remains. But how does the ocean remain? The ocean is there because of the moon. Because moon niche tides ave che, high tides, low tides, that's what creates the ocean. If the moon was not there, we would have no oceans. So the example is, just as an ocean requires a moon, and if the moon is there, the ocean is going to survive through all the time. Similarly, Naminath Bhagwan, the whole Yadav lineage has continued, and people will know you for time immemorial. The Yadav dynasty, it's because of you. The next analogy given here is karma kaksha hutashana. So what are the words here? Karma, as we know the karma. Vraksha. Vraksha means tree and Hutashana means fire. So what this is trying to say is that amara je karma je che, which we have got over time immemorial, deeply entrenched within our soul, how can I get rid of this karma? We need a fire. Forest ma je che, if you have got trees, how can you destroy the trees? The trees have been existing for so many years and you need a fire, and a fire can, like if you know the fires in Australia, they decimate vast acres of the forest. So hey Neminath Bhagwan, you are like this fire who can destroy our karma over time immemorial. Arishta Nemir Bhagwan. Neminath Bhagwan, no, another name is Arishta Nemi. And why is he called Arishta Nemi? Because his mother, when he was in the womb, had a dream that, and she saw a wheel of the Arishta jewels. So it's a form of a jewels. Like a ruby, a diamond. There must be a jewels which are called Arishta. So Arishta Nemir Bhagwan. And the last word says Bhuyadvo Arishta Nashana. So what this is saying is that Bhuyado Arishta Nashana. Arishta means inauspiciousness. Okay, Neminath Bhagwan, you are the person who is going to remove anything which is inauspicious in our life. Kaimpan problems hoy, upsarga hoy, anything auspicious, Neminath Bhagwan, you are the ones who is going to remove this from us, remove all the obstacles and remove anything auspicious in our life. Now, a famous tirth for Neminath Bhagwan, as you all know, is Girnar tirth. And may I just do a quick poll of all the people who are joined in today's Zoom, how many people have been to Girnar? So if you can quickly go into your Zoom and just poll and just say how many people have been to Girnar, yes or no? So far I see 2 people have been to Girnar. You got about 10 people saying no. Any more? Okay. So we've said 85%. So 11 people have not been to Girnar and 3 people have been to Girnar. So the vast majority of you have not been to Girnar. Now, I was quite blessed that just literally almost 7-8 months ago, I was in Girnar and one beautiful temple dedicated to Lord Neminath Bhagwan here. Similar to Palitana, you have to climb the mountain, Girnar mountain, and some beautiful ornate temples. And this main temple here is dedicated to Neminath Bhagwan. And the Neminath Bhagwan ni je murti je che is supposed to be a very, very old murti here. Now, Girnar Tirth has a lot of importance. And let me actually put another poll to you. And let's see how much information do you know about the importance of Girnar. Why is Girnar so important? So I'm just launching the poll. And if you can just answer these 3 questions, let's see how many of you can get them correct. So in the first question, in the previous time cycle, so not this 24 Tirthankars, in the previous time cycle, how many Tirthankars attained moksha from Girnar? 1, 5, 10, 15 or 24? So if you can just use the poll to answer, what do you think is the right answer? Are you using the poll? Has it been launched?
Oh, there are 3 questions.
Yes, 3 questions. Yes, if you just number 1. The second question is, in the current time cycle, how many Tirthankars have achieved moksha from Girnar? So in this current time cycle right now. And the last question is, in the next time cycle, Avti 24 jare avse tyare, how many Tirthankars will attain moksha from Girnar? Okay, so in the first question, we're seeing the vast majority of you are saying 15 people, 15 Tirthankars have been to moksha. 5 people have said 56% are saying 15 Tirthankars went. Okay, so the answer to the first question is 10 Tirthankars. So that the correct answer is number 10. So 10 Tirthankars actually went to moksha from Girnar in the previous time cycle. In the current time cycle, the vast majority of you have, so 56%, 5 people have said, so 56% of you have said 1 Tirthankar went to moksha. So that's correct answer. And the third question is that in the next time cycle, how many Tirthankars will attain moksha from Girnar? And the correct answer there is 24. All the 24 Tirthankars in the next time cycle will achieve, and most of you wrote 5, and only one of you wrote 24. So can you imagine the importance of Girnar? Let me just go to the next slide. In fact, if you actually go to Google and if you just type Girnar Darshan, you will actually find that why Girnar is very, very prominent. Girnar, as you see, so 10 Tirthankars went for the previous time cycle, and Girnar is the place where all the 24 Tirthankars of the next time cycle will attain moksha. Girnar is the place of the oldest idol of Lord Neminath in the existing world, and it is due to the influence of Girnar that Krishna Maharaj, Hare Krishna, Krishna Maharaj acquired Tirthankar Nam Karma, and he's going to become a Tirthankar in the next time cycle. Now, when I actually went into to Girnar, I was very blessed to meet Acharya Hemchandra Vijay Maharaj. And in fact, as you know, today is Ambelni Odiya je start thai che. So when I met him, this Acharya Maharaj is well known for having taken a lifelong vow of doing Ambel for the rest of his life. Ele roj Ambel karwani and climbing Girnar mountain until the best of his ability. Jyan sudhi health permits, he's going to be climbing Girnar mountain every single day of his life. So that's a vow he's taken. And when I asked him, Guru Maharaj, how come you've taken such? Because most Sadhu Maharajis would vihar kare. Jare chomasu ave, they'll move from one place to the other place. And so me puchu ke Guru Maharaj, why are you doing this? I want to build such a connection in my life that in my next birth, I wish that I can come here, 24 Tirthankar yahanthi javana che, so I can be able to go to moksha and build that strong connection with Girnar. Another very interesting story of Girnar is, I actually even went there in 2016. And at that time, a youngest son Yash was there. Na main jab chadta tha, to tya kutro hato, as we are climbing the mountain. So obviously him being a bit scared, to Doli ne ke kane please hatavo kutra ne. And the Doli says, don't worry about this dog. It's a very, very calm dog. And he roj je dog che every day jatra uppar kare che. And he is waiting for the his companion black dog to actually come and join him. At that time we didn't see him, but this time around when I went there in February, we actually managed to see both these dogs here. Can you imagine karma keras and what su links ase ke previous bhavma ke they are actually doing this jatra every single day. Roj upar jatra kare niche utri jai che. These two dogs. And as I said, Girnar is so important for us. And if you just imagine the next 24 Tirthankars tyathi moksha javana che, I would actually say that it's like the Mecca for the Jains. Once in our lifetime, we need to resolve to go for Jatra here. And in a way, I think because of the lockdown, many of us have not been on holidays. We're all looking forward to go somewhere. And maybe this is a good opportunity to have this vision or idea in our mind. Lockdown puru thai, and when we are able to, maybe just take the earliest opportunity, go to India, go for Jatra and visit Girnar. So the next verse here, Kamte dharnendrecha svochitam karma kurvati prabhustulyo manavrati parshvanatha shriyestuvaha. So this verse is dedicated to Lord Parshvanath Bhagwan. Now let's look at the word Kamat and Dharnendra. And Cha, as we see, is end. So Kamat and Dharnendra, what about them? Svochitam karma kurvati. Now in Jain philosophy, two words are very common. Swa ne par. So what does Swa means? Self. Apne ke Swarup. How do I look? Ke Swabhav. What's my nature? Ke Swadhyay. હું પોતે study કરું છું. Ke Swarthi. Ke someone is very selfish. So that's Swa. And par means the others. So what did Kamat and Dharnendra do? Swochitam. So whatever they thought, Swochitam. So Uchit means whatever they thought and their own thinking. So they did, and Karma Kurvati. So they did actions which befitted their thoughts. And so what did Kamat do? Kamat had actually bound vengeance with Parshvanath Bhagwan since many life births. Ek birth mati, bija birth mati, constant ek jatnu, he had built such a strong animosity towards Parshvanath Bhagwan and problems at karya rakhe. To that extent that in one of those births, he was a kind of a Hindu monk and doing yagna. As you know the story, કે ઈ યજ્ઞ કરતા હતા, sacrifice, and પાર્શ્વનાથ ભગવાન was passing by and through his અવધિજ્ઞાન saw કે અહીંયા બે snakes છે, they're burning in the pieces of wood. And પાર્શ્વનાથ ભગવાન came there and told, come on, stop this yajna, stop this havan. And he અહીંયા snakes છે, કે show it to me. ને ભગવાને જે woods કાઢ્યા તો 2 slithering snakes almost burnt. ને ભગવાને નૌકાર સંભળાવી અને ઈ બે ધર્મેન્દ્ર અને પદ્માવતી died and went into દેવલોક. So ભગવાન અત્યારના હવે મેડિટેશનમાં છે and Kamat is doing his actions, giving lots of problems. And ભગવાન is in pure equanimity and ધર્મેન્દ્ર જોયે છે કે આ ભગવાન આટલું બધું તકલીફ થાય છે, પાણીનું લેવલ ઉપર રેઇઝ થાય છે, આ વરસાદ ફેંકે છે, ભગવાન might drown. And then in taking the form of a snake, પદ્માવતી ને ધર્મેન્દ્ર એક જાતનું હુડ કરે છે ભગવાન ઉપર ને કે જે ભગવાનને let me protect them. But ભગવાન કેવી ને how is ભગવાનનું શું કહે પ્રભુ તુલ્યો મનોવૃત્તિ. What a beautiful word. Prabhu, what was Bhagwan's thinking? Prabhu's tulya manovritti. Vritti means what is intentions, what's going on in his mind. Manovritti. Tulya. Tulya means like આપણે balanced. So Bhagwan was totally balanced in his mind. He was not saying this is an enemy of mine. Kamat, ketlo kharab છે આ. What? He's such a nasty person. And at the same time, ધર્મેન્દ્ર કે પદ્માવતી જ્યારે એને પ્રોટેક્ટ કરે છે, ભગવાન was not saying, કેટલા સારા છે આ લોકા. They are looking after me. Were such nice souls. Bhagwan was totally equanimous, not feeling any hatred or animosity towards Kamat, neither having any sort of saying, oh, Kamat and Dharendra are such great people. Totally balanced, totally equanimous. Parshvanatha Shriyestuvaha. Oh Parshvanath Bhagwan, may you bless me with knowledge. Hey Bhagwan, may you grant us knowledge. Now, પાર્શ્વનાથ ભગવાન છે, આપણે જો ભાવયાત્રા કરવી હોય, I can imagine that for the next 1 or 2 sessions, we can actually have so many tirths of પાર્શ્વનાથ ભગવાન. As you very well know, કે આપણા આટલા બધા તીર્થસ છે, it wouldn't be surprising to know that પાર્શ્વનાથ ભગવાનની જે મૂર્તિ છે અને જે તીર્થસ છે, it must be far more than any other Tirthankars, પાર્શ્વનાથ ભગવાનના. So let's look at some of the tirths. When I went in February, which I went, one of the very, very miraculous murti of Parshvanath Bhagwan is Acharya Parshvanath. Somnath je che Hindu lokoનું, ત્યાંથી it's almost about a 1 hour's drive from Somnath. And this is supposed to be a very, very miraculous murti. And it is said કે ઈ જ્યારે ઈ ટાઈમમાં કોઈ રાજા હતા, he had a lot of disease. ને જ્યારે આ મૂર્તિ જ્યારે એ લોકોને મળી, ત્યારે ને ભગવાને નવડાવ્યા, just sprinkling the water ભગવાનમાંથી જે મહારાજના જે બધા disease હતું, ઈ બધું આખું, it sort of went away. In fact, when we went there, આજે ભગવાનનું નમન જે છે, we managed to get it. So in fact, when I went there, we managed to get the ભગવાનનું નમન. I just brought it back with me. It's supposed to be કે કાંઈ પણ જે તકલીફ થઈ હોય, તો ભગવાન's નમન is very, very miraculous. આ જે ઘંટ જે છે, it's about 1,000-year-old ઘંટ. There's information written here. It's about 1,000-year-old ઘંટ. Now, a very famous tirth for Parshvanath Bhagwan, as many of you might have been there, is Sankeshwar Parshvanath. Sankeshwar Parshvanath, in fact, there is a very nice picture which I've got the same picture which is there. Bhagwan's Murti je che, Sankeshwar Parshvanath Bhagwannu. Jinchandra Maharaj has given a very elaborate description of the history of this idol here. It's a very long story. In the interest of time, I won't be able to go into detail. Suffice to say that when was this Murti created? It's at the time from the previous Tirthankar, 24 ભગવાન હતા, એમાં 9th Tirthankar હતા દામોદર સ્વામી. ને ઈ જ્યારે હતા, ત્યારે someone went to the Tirthankar and saying, oh દામોદર સ્વામી, you are a Tirthankar, can you please tell me કે મારું મોક્ષ ક્યારે થાશે? Because you are a Tirthankar. તો દામોદર સ્વામી કહે, don't worry, you will definitely achieve liberation and you are going to become, you will attain moksha at the next time cycle. જ્યારે પાર્શ્વનાથ ભગવાન થાશે, you will become the Ganadhar of પાર્શ્વનાથ ભગવાન. He was so happy. Oh, really? I'm actually going to get moksha and I'll become a Ganadhar of Parshvanath Bhagwan. So he goes home. Next day he comes, oh Bhagwan, sorry, I forgot to ask you. Tame to Tirthankar cho. You can see everything of the past, the present and the future. Can you please describe to me how is this Parshvanath Bhagwan going to look like? So Damodar Swami gave the description that Parshvanath Bhagwan is going to look like this. And this person then said, I'm so much in love with Parshvanath Bhagwan, and a Bhagwan ni Murti karaivi. E Murti, Tyarthi is being there. So this Murti is from the time period of the previous 24 Tirthankars. E pachi jare Devlokma gya, through his power, he took this murti into Devlok. And then it's an interesting story that how did this murti come back to earth from Devlok? Another very prominent tirth of Parshvanath Bhagwan is Jiravala Parshvanath. And as you can see here, that this temple has been recently renovated, but the original temple was done in the year 326. Jiravala Parshvanath Bhagwan ekli bhavya murti je છે. In fact, many of these temples, they don't let you take photos inside. And therefore, I managed to get this small relic when I went there. કે Jiravala Parshvanath Bhagwanનું જે છે અને આપણે જ્યારે પણ પ્રતિષ્ઠા જ્યારે કરે ત્યારે આચાર્ય મહારાજ actually uses the mantras of Jiravala Parshvanath. એકલું miraculous મૂર્તિ Jiravala Parshvanathની હોય છે. Another prominent tirth in Bombay is Godiji Parshvanath. It's in Paidhuni area of Bombay, and the pratishtha was done in about almost, it's over 200 years old, and one of the oldest temples in Bombay. Another temple of Parshvanath Bhagwan is Phalna, and this is supposed to be the only golden temple for the Jains. And the speciality of this temple is that the ladies of this town, they actually donated 90 kilos, કે પોતાનું જે jewelry હોય, 90 kilos of gold, they all donated, ને ભગવાનની મૂર્તિ પણ gold માંથી બનાવેલી છે. Can you imagine 90 kilos? In today's value, just the value of the gold is about 5 million pounds. If you say 50,000 pounds per kilo of gold, then this is about 4.5 million pounds worth of just gold used in this temple here. Another temple of Parshvanath Bhagwan is in Maharashtra. It's Kumbhojgiri. Jagbala Parshvanath Bhagwan uche. Again, as you can see, it's about 150 years old. Now, at the same place in Kumbhojgiri here, this is one of the most unique places I've been to. Many places apne jatra karwa jaye, there are temples. But here you can see idols of murtis out in the open space. And can you imagine, this must have weathered so many natural elements over all these years. Doesn't these aerial roots make you feel that you've gone back in past? You've gone back 400-500 years ago. And it's actually said when I was doing my studies of Jainism, the original temples were not concrete buildings or like this. They were out totally in the open, and that's what the word Chaitya means. Chaitya means an outdoor temple. એટલે આપણે દેરાસરમાં જઈએ છીએ, આપણે કે ચૈત્ય વંદન કરે છે, ચૈત્ય વંદન. Perhaps that's where the term Chaitya came from, ચૈત્ય વંદન. Totally out in the open air, ને ભગવાનની જે મૂર્તિ. The next verse here is Srimate Veeranathaya Snathayat Bhutashriya Mahananda Sururaja Maralayarate Namaha. Now this verse is dedicated to Lord Mahavir. The first word means, O Veer Bhagwan, Srimate, you are endowed with Shri. Shri means Lakshmi, wealth. What kind of wealth are you endowed with? Mate. Mate આપણે કઈ આવે છે? જ્ઞાન, મતિ જ્ઞાન. So you are endowed with knowledge. And what kind of knowledge is Bhagwan Mahavir? Infinite knowledge. તમારી પાસે કેવલ જ્ઞાન છે. The next word means Sanathayat Bhutashriya. Sanat means accompanied by. And what are you accompanied by? Adbhut Shriya. So you are accompanied by 34 Atishayas. We saw in the previous lecture that Bhagwans have got this 34 specialities, supernatural powers, Atishayas. So you are endowed with this. And the next analogy is Mahananda Saroraja. What this is saying is that lake છે સરોરાજ. ને લેકમાં શું હોય છે? સ્વોન હોય છે, સ્વોન. So આપણે લેકમાં આપણે બ્યુટી ક્યારે લાગે? When you see a nice beautiful swan jo, you feel, oh, what beautiful, such blissful lake. તો કે હે ભગવાન, you are like that. તમને જોઈને we are getting મહા આનંદ આવે છે, મહા આનંદ. We are getting so much આનંદ just by this. So it's an analogy giving by looking at the swan in the river. Maralayarate Namaha. So Bhagwan Mahavir's a very bhavya tirth is Bamanwada. Now Bamanwada is in Rajasthan, and this is the exact location where Bhagwan ne khila ठोकाना था. And there was a herdsman, as you know the story, and Bhagwan ne khila ठोका था, and Bhagwan એટલું બધું પેઇન થયું હતું ત્યારે ભગવાનમાંથી મોટામાંથી ચીસ નીકળી ગઈ હતી. And if you look through here, you can actually see a crack in the rock. So if you just peep inside this window here, and this person here, when he was describing to us, he says, I actually am from the same lineage. I'm a descendant of the person who actually Bhagwan na kanma khila thokaina tha. And it's my duty as a herdsman to come here every single day to to ask for forgiveness. Ki, oh Bhagwan, I'm so sorry that my ancestors, ne tamara kanma, he pierced nails into your ears. And I come in here, ask for forgiveness. And one of the unique kinds of temples, look at, and this was, I think, built at the time of Samprati Maharaj. And Samprati Maharaj, as Vinod Bhai Kapasi had mentioned, ke je Parshvanath Bhagwanni murti je che, it's at the time of Samprati Maharaj. So very, very ancient murti. Je hamna Kenton Derasar ma che. The next verse says, Kruta paradhepi jane, krupa mantra tarayo, ishyada bashpara dhrar bhadram, Shri Virijan netrayo. Now, this verse is also dedicated to Lord Mahavir. And the gist of this verse is that when Lord Mahavir was in meditation, Sangam Dev inflicted lots of pains for months on end on Lord Mahavir. And eventually, when Sangam realized that it is futile, that Bhagwan is way beyond this. Gamme te apun છું, Bhagwan is totally equanimous. કાંઈ અસર ન થતો ભગવાને. ગમે તે હું એને ભગવાને હું એને આટલી પીડા આપું છું. And eventually, after the Dev got tired, he was returning to his Devlok, abode માં. ને ત્યારે જ્યારે જાતા હતા, ત્યારે ભગવાનની આઈઝમાંથી became moist with compassion. થોડાક આંસુ આંખમાંથી આંસુના ટીપા આવવા માંડ્યા. It is actually known, people believe that that's the only time Bhagwan Mahavir cried in his life. And this is saying, hey Bhagwan, તમારી આઈઝના કેટલું compassion છે કે someone who used to torture you for 6 months, એટલી બધી આપી છે તમને ઓલું કે તો પણ you had this eyes of compassion. એટલે કે છે શ્રી વીર્ય જન નેત્રયો, નેત્ર means eyes. Hey Bhagwan, may your eyes show compassion on me also. કે તમારી એકલી compassion છે. Again, looking at Bhagwan Mahavir, another important tirth is in Nandiya Tirth. This is the exact location where Chandakoshik snake bit Lord Mahavir. And if you go inside this temple here, Bhagwan Kausabni Murti che, and on the side here is actually this snake here, Chandakoshik snake, ne Bhagwan footprints kaira che. It's actually mind-boggling to think that you are actually standing the same location where Bhagwan Mahavir stood over 2,500 years ago. It's actually a very surreal experience. And the history says that this city was settled by Nandi Vardhan. Bhagwan Mahavirna brother ata, his name was Nandi Vardhan. And that's the reason why the town is actually called Nandiya Tirth. Ne, અહીંયા એક temple છે, and just next to this temple here, just almost 100 years away, is another temple here. And the idol of this Mahavir Swami is of his time here. એટલે એને જીવિત ભગવાન મહાવીર કહેવાય છે. જે મૂર્તિ કરી છે ભગવાનની, it's not 100 years, 200 years, but it's almost at the 2,500 years old. And it's also known that Dharan Shah and Ratan Shah, who built Ranakpur Tirth, were natives of this city here. So this is actually the murti of Bhagwan Mahavir, which is the Jivit Mahavir Swami, consecrated at the time of Nandivardhan, Bhagwan Mahavir's elder brother. So the next verse, Jayati Vijitanya Tejaha Sura Suranara Sevita Shriman Vimalastrasaverahita Stribuna Chadamanir Bhagwan. So this verse is again dedicated to Lord Mahavir. So as you can see, the Pelibadi verses, there were just one verse for each Tirthankar. But Bhagwan Mahavir being the last and the final Tirthankar, there are quite a few verses dedicated to Lord Mahavir. Here the verse is describing how Lord Mahavir overcame the compassion of age. So what it is says that, for example, just as we have nuclear energy, and the nuclear energy can be used for generating electricity or making the nuclear bomb. So it can be used for both two things, a positive and negative. Similarly, people who do tap, they can acquire a lot of powers. And powers, you can actually use it in a right way or the wrong way. It is believed that at Bhagwan Mahavir na time mahata, there were some tapas who, if they became very angry, they could almost eject like fire on you. They can through their eyes, or they can just inflict, and they can actually burn you. And that is the power of their tap. So Bhagwan Mahavir ke hey Bhagwan Mahavir, you were of such compassion that tamne koi pan kare, you could actually nullify the effect of this, because you are just compassion within you. The next word says Sura Sura Naradhisa. So again, this word comes very, very frequently. Survi means angel, Asur means the demigods, and Sura Sura Naradhisa. Adish means એના જે બધા leaders છે, સેવિત, તમને ભગવાન તમને બધા સેવા કરે છે. ઇવન ત્યાં દેવદેવ ઇન્દ્ર મહારાજ જે છે, who is supposed to be the kings of the heavens, એ પણ તમારી સેવા કરે છે. શ્રીમાન Vimala strasa virahita. So what does Vimal mean? You are pure, without any blemishes. And trasa virahita. Tras means fear. And virahit means without. So you are without any fears, O Veer Bhagwan. And the third analogy which is given here, Tribhuvana Chudamanir Bhagwan. Now can you imagine, apni pas emperor hoy, the emperor wears a crown. And on the crown, there will be a jewel. So for example, apni Rani che, Queen Elizabeth, so on her crown, there might be a Kohinoor jewel on it, which sort of glorifies that crown. Okay, hey Bhagwan, tame Tribhuvana, so you are the emperor of the three worlds, the heavens, the netherworld, and the middle world. And can you imagine that you are like the crown, but you're not the crown, you're actually like the jewel amongst this crown here. Okay, tame jo emperor hoy, you are like this jewel. So Bhagwan ek jatni analogy ape છે. So આપણે કહે છે કે you are without any blemishes. So ભગવાનને આ બધા 18 પાપ નથી. There are 7 kinds of fears which are given in the sort of Jain market. Fear of this life, next life, disease. So you are without any of these fears here. And hey Bhagwan, you are like this jewel here. And our crown કેનું છે? Not of this emperor here. Not even Indra Maharajનું પણ crown. તમે જે 3 આખા લોકના તમે નાથ છો, એનું જે crown જે હોય, you are like that jewel. Now this verse is perhaps one of my most favorite verses in this entire Saklarhat Sutra, because anu je rag ne je tune je che is just it's very phenomenal. So let's see what this verse is. Veera sarva sura surendra mahito veeram buddha sanshrita veerena vihata swakarma nichayo Veeraya nityam nama Veeratirthamidam pravrutamatulam Veerasya goram tapo Veere Shri Dhruti Kirti Kanti Nichaya Shri Veerabhadram Disha. Now let's look at this verse in a little bit more detail. Before we do that, any languages has got declension. So what does this mean? That a word can be in different forms. So for example, me khadu, hu khaish, mane khavu che, me khai lidhu che, I khava gyo che. The word eat or ate or eating, you can just have different forms. Similarly, in Sanskrit, there are 8 kinds of declinations you can have. And these are 8 and only 8. So nominative and all these ones which are highlighted here. And each one of them has got a particular ending. So we saw earlier in our first session that in Sanskrit, the endings are the most important. The endings indicates which kind of declension we're using. So in this verse here, Acharya Hemchandra has very cleverly used Veer, and with the endings of this has used each of these 8 ones here to describe the qualities of Veer Bhagwan. And let's look at them. So first one is Veeraha. So what is this Veer? Red. So it's a subject. So here Veer is a subject, not an object. So if I say I eat an apple, so I am the subject and apple is an object. So here Veer is a subject. And Sukeche, Veera Sarva means all, Sura Surendra Mahito. So Veer is venerated by all heavenly beings. So as you can see, that's the reason why it's called Veeraha. And in line with this one here. The next one, Veeram Buddha Sansrita. So Veeram. So what is Veeram here? It's blue. So accusative. And so here, so Veeram. So accusative means it's object. So when I said I eat an apple, so apple is an object. So for example, the apple is eaten by me. So apple is a subject and then me becomes an object. So અહીંયા શું આવ્યું? Veeram Buddha Sansrita. Wise people, Buddha, આપણે કહીએ બુદ્ધિવાળા. Wise people have come to the shelter of Veer. So here Veer has become the object. Wise people have become the subject. The third one here, Veerena Bihata. Veerena means instrumental, by means of or with. That's what it means. So what is this saying here? Veer by his own self. Veerena Bihata Swakarma Nichayo. એના પોતાના કર્મ આપણે કહીએ ને કપડા આપણે નીચે આવ્યા આપણે કપડા when you have the clothes, so you remove all the water. So oh Veer Bhagwan, through your own self, through your own efforts, swa પોતે your karma, you managed to get rid of your own karma. તમે આપણું મેડિટેશન કર્યું 12.5 વર્ષ સુધી તમે કેવલ જ્ઞાન મેળવ્યું. So through your own efforts, Veerena, by your own self, you manage to get rid of your karmas. The next one, Viraya Nityam Nama. So what's this ending? Viraya, Raya. What does that mean? Deity 4 or 2. That's what Viraya stands for. So he says Viraya Nityam Nama. Nitya means always and Nama means bow down. So it means always bow down to Vir. Viraya. And in the second session we said Om Namah Shivaya, Om Namah Ganeshaya. So it means I bow down to Ganesh, I bow down to Shiv. So Viraya means always bow down to Vir. This one here, Vira Tirthamidam Pravrutamatulam. So this one is Virat. Now Virat means from. Now if you look at here, Vira, where is that ta? And it's quite interesting to see here that this is a double T. So if I just look at line here, this line is actually become, that small line becomes a double T. So it's Virata Tirthamidam. So here it says from Vir the current vast tirth has started. આપણા અત્યારનો જે શાસન ચાલે છે, we are in the era of મહાવીર ભગવાનનું શાસન ચાલે છે અત્યારના. All the teachings, all આપણા જે આગમ્સ છે are from the preachings of Lord Mahavir. So from Vir this current tirth has started. Virasya Goram Tapo. So what is Virasya? So Virasya is genitive, which means of, or આપણે કહીએ ને is, it's the cat's milk. Or so when we say it's. So Vir's intense tap, Goram Tapo. The other one is Vire Shri Dhruti. So what is Vire? So Vire here is locative, in or on, so possession. So something which Vir possesses. And what does Vir possess? Shri Dhruti. So wealth, patience, fame, Kanti, Nichaya. Always Vir possesses this. And lastly, Shri Vira Bhadram Disha. And what is this Shri Vira? Yeah. Addressing, vocative. Oh Vir, oh Ram, oh Sita, oh Lord, bless me. So that is called, it's called vocative. Oh Vir, oh Shri Vira, Bhadram Disha. Bhadram means give Kalyan, auspiciousness to me. So that's just a description there. So the other words, Avanit Lagatanam, Krutrima Krutimanam, Varabhavana Gatanam, Divya Vaimanikanam, Iya Manjukrutanam, Devaraja Chitanam, Jinavar Bhavananam Bhavatoham Namami. So let's look at what this verse means. Let's just read this. Shri Jineshwar Devna Chaityana hu bhavpurvak naman karu chu. So Chaitya means wherever the temples are. J Krutrim Ashashvat ane Akrutrim Sashvat Rupi che. So some of the temples are known as Sashvat, means that they were never going to be destroyed. So Palitana we believe is Sashvat che, and some are Asashvat. They could be destroyed. So they could be natural catastrophe, something could happen and those temples could get destroyed. Incidentally, Krutrim, it's quite amazing. The pronunciation is different between the north and the south. Gujarati loko we call this Kru, and the North Indians call it Kri. So Kruti, Kriti, Rishikesh, Rushikesh. So that's kind of just a dialect between the different regions. And Bhagwanni Murtiyo ક્યાં પણ હોય છે? Bhavanapatiમાં. So there are different kinds of dev ne deviyo છે. So there's one class of devs which are called Bhavanapati. These are known as kind of abode dwelling. They also, આપણી પાસે જેમ આપણા ઘર છે, palaces હોય, એવી રીતના દેવ લોકો પણ, they could be mansion dwelling. And in their mansions, they'll probably have murtis of Bhagwan. ને બીજા પણ ક્યાં પણ ભગવાનની મૂર્તિ હોઈ શકે? દેવતાના વિમાનોમાં. આપણે જેમ આપણે મૂવ કરીએ, when we go in a plane. Or we go in a car. So every time when devs have to go from one place to another place, they might have their celestial planes. E planes માં પણ ભગવાનની મૂર્તિ પણ હોય છે. એ બધી ભગવાનની મૂર્તિને પણ હું તથા મનુષ્ય વડે કરેલા, so all humans જે બધી મૂર્તિ બનાવેલી છે, રાજાઓ અને દેવરાજાઓએ, એ બધાને પૂજાયેલા છે. હું બધાને વંદન કરું છું. Now interesting here, it says Namami. Anyone can see the link here? Namami, Vandami, Ichchami, Vosirami. Any link here? As you can see, all these words here are coming from Ami. આપણે તિક્કુ તો કરે, તિક્કુ તો આયાહીનમ, પયાહીનમ, કરેમી, વંદામી, નમનસામી. So you can see Vandami, Namansami. So what is the link here? What does Ami mean? And Ami means I. I bow down. હું વંદન કરું છું. વંદામી, ઈચ્છામી, ખમા સમણો. હું ઈચ્છા કરું છું. વોસીરામી, આપણે પચકાન આપે, પછી લાસ્ટમાં આપણે કહીએ વોસીરામી. I give up. Vosirami. So that's essentially that Ami, the ending Ami means I. If it was you, it would be namansi. And if it means if it was they are bowing down, then that would be namanti. So it's just this. So it's interesting to know that this word comes very often. Juda juda words ma ami. Now, a very similar prayer to this is the Jankinchi Sutra. Jankinchi namatittam sagge pali manasloe jaim jan bimbaim taim sabai mandami. આપણે ચૈત્યવંદન કરે છે કે જ્યાં જ્યાં ભગવાનની મૂર્તિઓ છે, જ્યાં જ્યાં ભગવાનના જે તીર્થ છે, બધાને હું અહીંયા બેઠા બેઠા વંદન કરું છું. Now on the 31st verse, so सर्वेषां वेद सामाद्य माध्यमं परमेष्टिनां देवादिदेवं सर्वज्ञं श्रीवीरं प्रणिदद्मये. Again, Bhagwan Mahavirni verse dedicated to Bhagwan Mahavir. And again, let's just look at the translation here. Pranidadmahe. What does Pranidadma means? Profound religious meditation or contemplation. Hey Bhagwan, I'm meditating. Kono meditation karo chu? Mahavir Swami Bhagwan no. Keva che Mahavir Swami Bhagwan? Sarvagnato ma shrest. All those people who are knowledgeable, you are the best. You can have a lot of clever and intelligent people. But આપણા આચાર્ય પણ આટલા બધા વિદ્વાન છે. પણ બધાઓમાંથી તમારું નોલેજ તો કેવલ જ્ઞાન છે. તથા પરમેષ્ટિમાં આદિમમ. આપણા 5 પરમેષ્ટિ છે. અરિહંત, સિદ્ધ, આચાર્ય, ઉપાધ્યાય અને સાધુ. એમાં the first કોનું આવે છે? અરિહંત ભગવાનનું. So hey ભગવાન મહાવીર, you are an arihant. So that's why you got the first prime position. Incidentally, in the technical sense right now, Bhagwan Mahavir is not arihant. He was when he was alive. Now he's actually become Siddh. So when we say Namo Arihantanam, now who we are praying to is the Arihants of the present time, which is the 20 Tirthankars in the Mahavidya Kshetra, out of which the most prominent one is Simandar Swami. ને પછી ભગવાન કેવા છે? દેવાદિદેવમ. દેવોના પણ દેવ. આજે આપણા એન્જલ્સ છે, આટલા બધા દેવો છે, એના પણ તમે દેવ છો. સર્વ વસ્તુઓના પણ સર્વભાવના યથાર્થપણે જાણનારા છો. So તમે you have got this infinite knowledge, સર્વજ્ઞમ. So આ ભગવાનની qualities આપે છે. The 32nd verse here. દેવો ને કભવા જીતો મહાપાપ પ્રદીપાનલો દેવઃ સિદ્ધિવદ વિશાલ હૃદય અલંકાર હારોપમ દેવોસ્તાદસદોષ સિંદુર્ઘટા નિર્ભેદ પંચાનનો ભવ્યાનમ વિદધાતુ વાંછિતફલમ શિવિતરાગો જિનઃ. So what is this verse trying to say? O Lord, Devo, O Lord, you are like the fire, Pradipanalo, fire, that can destroy the great sins, Mahapap, Mahapap, that you can destroy the great sins that we have accumulated over the endless cycles of birth and death. So that's this first. The second line, O Dev, O Bhagwan Mahavir, you are just like a jewelry that enhances the beauty of a woman. You are like the garland on my heart by bestowing me with the siddhi. કે મને જે તમારે જે you are like the હાર જે છે, મને why am I that prominence? મને શેના માટે હાર જોઈએ છે? બસ I am just looking for that siddhi. The third verse says, O Deva, and you see the two word here, Ashtadash. Ashtadash means 8 and 10, which means it's 18. O Dev, you are the person who can remove these 18 blemishes. આપણે કે 18 પાપ. આપણે 18 પાપ આવે છે, 7 લાખ આપણે બોલે છે, એમાં 18 પાપ સ્થાનક આવે છે. તો O Lord, you are the person who can remove these 18 blemishes from me. And પછી એનો કમ્પેરિઝન કેવી રીતના આપે છે? સિંદૂર ઘટા નિર્ભેદ પંચાનનો. ને અહીંયા સિંદૂર મીન્સ લાયન. ને શું કહે છે કે ઇમેજિન there is a pack of elephants or herd of elephants. એમાં લાયન આવી and lion can destroy all these elephants together. તો કે હે ભગવાન, you are like that. કે તમે લાયન જેવા છો. આટલા બધા જે એલિફન્ટ્સ જેવા હોય કે આટલા બધા પાપ કરેલા છે, અમારા 18 પાપ, તમે you can destroy them all. And then the last verse says, Bhavyanam vidadatu vanchit phalam shivitarago jinha. Oh Vitrag Bhagwan. Vitrag means without any attachment. Please grant us your blessings. Do you see the word here? Vanchita phalam. Ichit. Ichcha means the I desire. And what do I desire? Phalam. Phalam means fruit. And please bless me with the fruit of moksha. And that's what I'm really, please bless me with this fruit. So again આપણે જ્યારે આવે છે આપણા જે 18 પાપ જે છે, હે ભગવાન, I want to get rid of this પ્રાણાતિપાદ, મૂષાવાદ, અડતદાન, ચોથિમેયુતુન, પરિગ્રહ, ક્રોધ, માન, માયા, લોભ, રાગ, દ્વેષ, કલહ, અભ્યાખ્યાન, પૈશુન્ય, રતિ, 16મે પરપરિવાદ, માયા, મૃષાવાદ, 18મે મિથ્વા, તો શલ્ય. 18 પાપ અમારે ભગવાન પ્લીઝ અમારા બધા દૂર કરી આપો. The last verse of this Saklarhat Sutra. ख्यातोष्टापद पर्वतो गजपद सम्मेत शिलाभिद श्रीमान रेवतक प्रसिद्ध महिमा शत्रुंजयो मंडप वैभार कनका चलोर बुधगिरि श्री चित्रकूटादय सत्र श्री ऋषभादयो जिनवरा कुर्वन्तु mangalam. Now this last verse refers to some of the prominent Jain pilgrim places. So the first word here says ख्यातो. ખ્યાતો means આપણે નથી કહેતા ગુજરાતીમાં પ્રખ્યાત છે, important, well known. So these are some of the well known Jain pilgrim places. Which one is the Acharya Hemchandra talking about? The first one he's talking about Ashtapad. Now Ashtapad is a tirth which was established at the time of Lord Rishabdev. It is believed that Bharat Maharaj, Jain's son, he is the one who built this tirth. It is actually believed that Himalayas ma છે tirth, and it's adrashya થઈ ગયું છે. It's now invisible. We do not know where the exact location of this tirth is. There are some researchers who are trying to find out if they can, in fact, Himalayas ma koi jai to there's actually even a town called Ashtapad, but no one knows where this temple is. તો આપણે જ્યારે પ્રેયરમાં આવે છે ને, આબુ અષ્ટાપદ ગિરનાર સમેત શિખર શત્રુંજય તીર્થસાર પાંચે તીર્થ ઉત્તમ ધામ સિદ્ધિ ગયા તેને કરું પ્રણામ. So out of all these tirths, Ashtapad is the one which is invisible. We do not know where it is. ને એમાં 24 ભગવાનની there is a particular pattern which it has got. પેલા અહીંયા આકલા એને એના આખું મંદિર છે. So the ખ્યાતો અષ્ટાપદ પર્વતો ગજપદ. ગજપદ is another tirth. And it's sort of supposed to be known in the Darshanapur village agar ek prominent tirth છે. Samet Shailabhida. So that's Samet Shikhar. Kya Samet Shikhar je છે, that's another prominent tirth. Shriman Revataka. So Shriman, and Shriman again, what does Shriman means? Important, well known. Revataka. So Revataka is also known. Girnar is also called Revatak. The mountain is called Revatak Parvat. So એટલે ગિરનારનું બીજું નામ છે ઐરાવત, એટલે ગિરનાર કે છે. પ્રસિદ્ધ મહિમા, એનો મહિમા ઇમ્પોર્ટન્સ છે, ઇટ્સ વેરી વેલ નોન, વેરી ઇમ્પોર્ટન્ટ. શત્રુંજયો મંડપ. શત્રુંજય is પાલિતાના, and then mandapa, let's look at the next slide. Mandavgarh. Mandap means Mandavgarh. પછી મંડપ. વૈભાર. વૈભાર is actually Vaibhargiri, which is actually very close to Rajgiri, Vaibhargiri hills. Kanaka Chalorabudagiri. So Kanaka is another tirth. એને કહે છે કનાકાચલ, સોનાગીરી અત્યારના કહે છે ને સોનાગીરી, which is about 60 kilometers from Gwalior. ચલો અર્બુદગીરી. અર્બુદગીરી means Abu, and Sri Chitrakuttadaya, and then other જે તીર્થ છે is Chitrakoot તીર્થ, and that is the birthplace of Acharya Haribhadra Suri. It's in Rajasthan. તત્ર શ્રી ઋષભાદયો. આ બધી જગ્યામાં ત્યાં કોણ છે? આદેશ્વર ભગવાન છે, શ્રી ઋષભદેવ ભગવાન છે. And Adayo means etc. Many other Tirthankars, not only Adeshwar Bhagwan, a બધા તીર્થોમાં. So we say Bhagwan, Adeshwar Bhagwan છે, and all etc. Many other Tirthankars are there છે. જીનવરા કુર્વંતુ મંગલમ. અમારું બસ મંગલ કરો. તમારું બધાનું મંગલ કરો. They all તમારું મંગલ કરે. So that's this last verse has been dedicated to all the pilgrim places. So Jai Jinendra, so that's really takes the end of all the 33 verses of Saklarhat Sutra. These are some of the references which I've used to prepare for this talk. And in fact, our youngest son, Yash, about 5 years ago, he recited Saklarhat Sutra. So if you want to really listen to it, you can just type Saklarhat Yash in Google, and you'll come up with this YouTube, which is there. So now, as a closing prayer, what I will do is recite all the 33 verses of Saklarhat Sutra. So as they say, when you're going on a plane, sit back and relax. Either close your eyes and get immersed in the bhakti of the 24 Tirthankars, or if you wish, I've actually put the slides with all the verses, and you can follow the verses as I go along. Saklarhat Pratisthana Madhistanam Sivasriya Bhurbhuvasvastaraishan Marhantyam Pranidatmaye Nama Kruti Dravya Bhavai Punata Sri Jagajanam Kshetre Kale Che Sarasmin Narata Samuhupasmaye Adimam Prutvinatha Madimam Nishparigram Adimam Tirthanatham Cha Rushabhaswaminam Stuma Arhantam Ajitam Vishwakamlakara Bhaskaram Amlana Kevaladarsa Sankranta Jagadam Stuve Vishwa Bhavijanaram Kulya Tulya Jentita Deshna Samaya Vacha Sri Sambhava Jagatpate Anekantam Tambodhi Samulasana Chandrama Dadhyadamandamanandam Bhagwan Abhinandana द्युसटकीटशानाग्रो तेजितां दृढखावली भगवान् सुमति स्वामी तनोतु विमतानिव पद्मप्रभा प्रभुदेह भास पुष्णन्तु वः श्रियम् अन्तरङ्गारिमतने कोपाटोपादिवारुणा श्रीसुपार्श्वजिनेन्द्राय महेन्द्रमहितां ग्रहे नमश्चर्तु वर्णसङ्ग गगनाभोगभास्वते चन्द्रप्रभा प्रभोश्चन्द्र मरीचिनिचयोज्वल्ला मूर्तिमूर्तसितध्यान निर्मितेव श्रियेस्तु वः करामलकवद्विश्वं कल्यन केवलश्रिया अचिन्त्य महात्मयनिधि सुविधि बोधेस्तु वः सत्त्वानं परमानन्द कन्दोदभेदनवाम्बुध स्याद्वादमृतनिष्यन्ति शीतलपातु वोजिनः भवरोगार्तजन्तुना मगदङ्कारदर्शन नियश्रेयसशिरमण श्रेयास श्रेयसेस्तु विश्वोपकारकीभूत तीर्थकृतकर्म निर्मिति सुरासुरनरे पूज्य वासुपूज्य पुनान्तु वा विमलस्वामिनवाच कतकक्षोदसोदरा जयन्ति त्रिजगचेतो जलनैर्मल्यहेत्वः स्वयंभूरमणिस्पर्धि करुणारसवारिणा अनन्तचिदनन्ताम्ब प्रयच्छतु सुखश्रियं कल्पध्रुमसधर्मान् मिष्टप्राप्तौ शरीरिणां चतुर्धा धर्मदेष्टारं धर्मनाथमुपास्महे सुधा सोदर्व्याज्योत्स्ना निर्मलीकृतदिनमुख मृगलक्ष्मातमशान्ते शान्तिनाथ जिनोस्तु वः श्रीकुन्थुनाथो भगवान् सनातोतिशयद्विसुरनुनाथानमेकनास्तु श्रिये हरनाथस्तु भगवान् चतुरथार्णभोरवि चतुर्थपुरुषात् श्रीविलासमितनोतु वः सुरासुरनराधीश मयूरनववारीदं कर्मधृणमूलने हस्तिमलमलिमभिष्टुमः जगन्महामोहनिद्रा प्रत्यूष्य समयोपमं मुनिसुरतनाथस्य देशनावचनं स्तुमः लुठन्तो नमतां मूर्धनि निर्मलीकारकारणं वारिप्लैवनमे पान्तु पादनखांशवः यद्वंशसमुद्रेन्दु कर्मकक्षुताशन अरिष्टनेमिर भगवान् भूयाद्वोरिष्टनाशन कण्ठे धरणेन्द्रे च स्वोचितं कर्म कुर्वति प्रभुस्तुल्यमनोवृत्ति पार्श्वनाथ श्रियेस्तु श्रीमते वीरनाथाय स्नाथाय अद्भुतश्रिया महानन्द सरोराज मरलयारते नमः कृतापराधेऽपि जने कृपमन्तरतारयो ईशतबाष्पारधर्भद्रं श्रीवीरजननेत्रयो जयति विजितान्यतेजा सुरासुराधीशसेवित श्रीमान् विमलस्त्रासविरित स्त्रिभुवनचूडामणिर्भगवान् वीर सर्वसुरासुरेन्द्रमहितो वीरं बुधा संश्रिता वीरेण विहत स्वकर्मनिचयो वीराय नित्यं नमः वीरा तीर्थमिदं प्रवृत्तमतुलं वीरस्य घोरं तपो वीरे श्रीधृतिकीर्तिकान्तिनिचय श्रीवीरभद्रं दिश अवनितलगतानां कृत्रिमाणां वरभवनगतानां दिव्यवैमानिकानां यवनजकृतानां देवराजाचितानां जिनवरभवनानां भावतोऽहं नमामि सर्वेषां वेदसामाद्य मादिमं परमेष्टिनां देवादिदेवं सर्वज्ञं श्रीवीरं प्रणिधात्महे देवो नेकभवाचितोचितमः पापप्रदीपानलो देवसिद्धिविशालहृदयालङ्कारहारोपमः देवोस्तादशदोषसिन्धुर्घट निर्भेदपञ्चाननो भव्यानां विदधातु वाञ्छितफलं श्रीवीतरागो जिनः ख्यातोष्टापदपर्वतो गजपदसम्मेतशैलाविद श्रीमान् रैवतक प्रसिद्धमहिमा शत्रुञ्जयो मण्डप वैभारकनकाचलो रबुदगिरि Sri Chitrakutataya Statra Shirushabhadayo Jinavara Kurvantu Vo Mangalam Kurvantu Vo Mangalam. And Jai Jinda, thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Rajeev. That was fantastic. What can I say? Anumodana to you. Wonderful, wonderful series of 3 lectures by you on this, and also with Vinod Bhai. Your style, what can I say? It's very detailed, it's forensic, but also you took us on a jatra from East Africa to India, around the world. And we've also managed to share some of the stories of your visits, as well as some of the stories of the Tirthankars. So really, really fascinating and interesting. And I can see also from some of the comments, people were inspired to go on a jatra to see some of these places themselves.
Incentive next time for SCBP to have a trip on jatra. So
yes, so we know who's going to be the tour guide for that one. So thank you very much, Rajeev, for a fascinating session, and at the end, really beautifully recited the sutra. Now, next week, unfortunately, or we've got half term, so there is no class, but most of you will have Amazon Prime or Netflix or whatever you have. But if you go on YouTube, you can actually have a box set of all of these talks. And I'm sure many of you would want to go back and revisit some of these talks that Rajeev Bhai and Vinod Bhai have done on this sutra, and listen to them again, stop, listen, take notes if you want, and share them with other friends and family. So please, I would encourage you, go to YouTube. If you look up Sri Chandna Vidyapith, you will be able to see the recordings of these sessions and be able to maybe go over some of the explanations again. I know Rajeev was saying that it's challenging to cover everything in as much detail as he would like, but you'll get an opportunity to listen to them again. So I would like, that leaves me really with just a couple of last minute things to say. Next week, there's no talk, and the week after, we'll be resuming with Sandip Bhai, who will be talking about the Walk With Me book. And you'll be able to catch up with that book then. And in the meantime, I'd urge you again to look at the details for the Diwali events. If you're interested in the JAP, please get in touch with us, and your family can take part in the JAP as well on Diwali Day, which is the 14th of November. So until we see you then, thank you very much. Jai Jinendra.
रक्ष रक्ष जिनेश्वर रक्ष रक्ष जिनेश्वर रक्ष रक्ष जिनेश्वर रहे